Today on a special edition of Fresno State Focus, we join Global News Poverty. We'll explore the persistent problem of poverty in Fresno County, which a few years ago ranked second poorest in the nation.
Also, what Valley farmers are doing to try to overcome the effects of California's drought, which is in its fourth year.
Then we'll take a look at how some residents are working to address hunger by helping others in need. Fresno State Focus starts now.
Hello and welcome to Global News Poverty from California State University, Fresno. I'm Joshua Robinson.
And I'm Elisa Bernal. 3 years ago, Fresno County had the dubious distinction of being ranked the second most impoverished area in the nation after McAllen, Texas, near the Mexican border. Fresno is located in the Central Valley of California between San Francisco and Los Angeles. The valley is known as the breadbasket of the nation because of the abundant crops that are grown here, nearly $6 billion worth annually. Although this area is rich in agriculture, unemployment is high, hovering around 16%, and few adults have college degrees, about 1 in 5. There are also health issues that come with living in the valley. This area suffers from some of the worst air quality in the country, raising a high rate of asthma and other airborne diseases.
With all the negatives, there is plenty of positive. The number of homeless in Fresno County is steadily dropping. Fresno State Focus reporter Rodney Matthews explains why the valley's poverty rate is showing signs of improvement.
One of Fresno's success stories is this village of temporary shelters. It's across the street from Paparello House, a place where anyone can go for a hot meal 7 days a week.
I visit on and off. I come mainly to eat because I don't have any source of income or employment.
Lashmay Sandhu has been in and out of custody for the past year and a half. Fresno's homeless include people like Sandhu who can't find a job. Others are drug addicts, alcoholics, and veterans.
A lot of them are vets. Because of the VA hospital being here, they come here for treatment, but they don't have anywhere to live. And so the goal of the mayor and our board is to develop housing. It starts out as temporary, and then we make it permanent.
United Way President Michael Alexander says their joint effort has helped to provide this temporary village that houses 130 people. Then, Fresno First Steps Home steps in and helps find permanent housing. So far, they've helped about 50,000 people in Fresno County.
Over the last 3 years is that we've reduced homelessness by over 50%. Many people are going to say, well, no, I still see people out on the street. I don't think homelessness is, we've made a pretty big dent in
the difference is in the numbers. 4 years ago, 4,300 people were homeless in Fresno County. That number has dropped to 2,600. But here back at Paparello House, they're still serving 1,200 meals a day.
Communications manager Stephanie Ortiz says they want to help people who are ready to help themselves.
But we're definitely trying to end homelessness. We know it's always going to be around, but the chronically homeless is who we're focusing on right now.
Ortiz says their goal is to end the cycle of homelessness and help people who live on the streets become self-sufficient. Rodney Matthews, Fresno State Focus.
While violent crime is down in other parts of the Central Valley, it's still going strong in downtown Fresno. Much of that violent crime is connected to gang warfare. Recent reports show more than 17,000 Fresno County residents are gang members. But one man is trying to turn that number around.
Michael DeJuarez works with teenagers at an inner-city church in Fresno. He wants to reach them before they make the wrong choices like joining a gang.
Parts of my life as a teenager, I was incarcerated. And so this thought of giving back to teenagers in a place that I never got a chance to live, almost in the beginning was very intentional because I got to live all over again with these kids.
DeJuarez can't do it alone. He has a team known as Cornerstone Community Care. They go out to rough parts of Fresno to reach out to teenagers and their parents who are already in that lifestyle and show them that there is a better life. One of the members on his team is Santiago Lujan.
It's funny because he and I have a lot in common. He was incarcerated and he's an ex-gang member. And I was incarcerated and I was an ex-gang member. And now what we do is we reach these young men, these young gang members, and try and show them another way of life.
The efforts of DeJuarez and Lujan are not going to waste. Young men and women alike are starting to grasp on to the message of hope and changing their lives for the better.
18-year-old Charlie Pahukoa is one of those students whose life has taken a complete 180. He is a senior at Fresno High and is now an Army cadet in the junior ROTC.
Santiago, they have really influenced me to become better than myself. They come from the same background that I grew up in as far as childhood environments and experiences, and it just where they are at right now influences me because it inspires me and shows me that I can do the same.
DeJuarez doesn't have any hard number that he can point to, but on a daily basis, he says gang members and former gang members thank him for trying to help.
Crime is often associated with poverty, and West Fresno is no exception. As the number of homeless continues to drop, so do violent crime numbers, except in Southeast and Southwest Fresno. Reporter James Barnes tells us this has not escaped the attention of Fresno State's president.
Poverty has been the focal point of West Fresno for as long as Shanae Fuller can remember. It is an image that seems to stick.
I can't think of any as far as good because there's a lot of negative, and so the negative overpowers the good. I've been living on the west side for a long time and I haven't seen anything good.
Fuller fears for the safety of her children and herself, and for good reason. While the violent crime numbers have dropped in other parts of the city, they've gone up in Southwest Fresno. The murder rate is higher than anywhere else, with 17 homicides last year, a 54% increase over the year before when 11 people were killed. There are those that still believe there's a solution, and it starts with the children.
One, I feel embracing our history, like everything that Martin Luther King and them fought for.
Erica Fuller has spent the majority of her life here, growing up not too far from St. Rest Baptist Church. She believes the church has shined some good light on West Fresno in the midst of all the darkness and negativity. Now it's up to the children to carry on.
Like when the president finish his term, or when the pastor finish his term, or or pass on or whatever, then who's gonna step into that position next? It's gonna be the babies or the ones that we're raising or the ones we seeing now. Like who's gonna be the next? But if they feel like they're not worth it, then what will we see them? Like, are we gonna see them on the news again, negative, or are they gonna fill a position in jail?
Fuller points to the new church-sponsored EOC gym as a step in the right direction. A change in poverty starts with making a difference in lives of young boys and girls, as well as those looking to escape. People in the community believe change can happen with the right kind of help. Like Fresno State President Dr. Joseph Castro, who recently visited St. Rest to offer words of encouragement. Castro knows what it's like to be poor. He says that is what made him who he is today.
When I see young people, I do think about them as the next generation of leaders. And to see that on the shirt in church and to hear the young people talking about what it means to be, a good person. You don't just walk by and let them be in trouble. You engage with them and do whatever you can.
Me, I believe for all people there's hope.
And Fresno State's President Castro says that hope starts with education, an opportunity to escape from poverty. James Barnes, Fresno State Focus.
A former Fresno State student has spearheaded a program that's working hard to put a stop to hunger. Reporter Angelica Leilani tells us what Fresno's Meal is doing to help give back.
On the first Sunday of every month, people who call the streets home know that on this day, they're able to get a hearty, home-cooked meal.
This is a side of downtown Fresno that most people are unaware of. But for the homeless community, these are the streets that they know. And for them, it's just another day trying to survive. I'm trying to get back on my feet.
Tomosa Salcido is homeless and pregnant. She's one of nearly 114,000 people in California who are homeless. Because she's pregnant, she's able to get shelter. But there are more than 71,000 people who have nowhere to go. As bad as that sounds, it's better than last year when there were nearly 137,000 people in California homeless. Of that, 91,000 of them were unsheltered. Salcido appreciates the volunteers who are out here today serving lunch. One of those volunteers is Michelle Rodriguez. She grew up in this area and feels a responsibility to helping people in need.
You get to experience, smiling and interacting with homeless individuals and hearing kind of if they decide to tell us, how they got there. And it's so riveting because it's not, a one mold. It's not these stereotypes that people hear.
Rodriguez, along with the other volunteers of Fresno's Meal, get together each month to make a delicious lunch. Today, it's chicken fajita burritos.
It's like we don't want it to like a ham and cheese and bologna.
Justin Kamimoto started Fresno's Meal right out of his parents' kitchen. What he first thought of as just family and friends getting together to make some plates turned into much more than that.
We know that we can only do so much, so that's where our community comes in, and they've been very supportive of our effort to do at least 100. And when we do at least 100, we see that a good majority of people in one location get a meal.
Kamimoto is talking about the painted table. a caterer that is providing all of the food and the kitchen every month for the rest of this year. By the end of this year, they hope to feed at least 200 people each time they go out. A tasty meal that brings a little bit of comfort during a rough time. Angelica Leilani, Fresno State Focus.
To date, Fresno's Meal has given out more than 1,500 meals. When you hear the term starving student, you may not realize how close to the truth that expression might be. College students are among those who are food insecure. Citlali Ocampo takes a look at a new program at Fresno State that is making sure no student is left behind.
At 50 years old, Brenda Hartman is not your typical student. But it's not only her age that sets her apart. It's her dedication to the Fresno State Student Cupboard and helping students.
And being able to help them get through this really tough time of struggling to make ends meet while you're going to school, I can empathize because I'm doing the same thing.
Hartman, who is a food and nutrition major, says even at her age, she's been forced to take out loans. She also understands what it's like to be jobless, as the cupboard is her first job in 5 years, which is why Hartman is one of hundreds of students who uses the cupboard to survive. Fresno State started the program in November after it found more than 30% of its students did not know where their next meal was going to come from.
The focus of the Student Cupboard is to break the stereotypical role of a starving college student by providing them with the necessary items they need to help stretch their wallet.
This is personal hygiene on this wall. The food is pretty self-explanatory.
And thanks to engineering student Christopher Dota, lots of oranges. He donated a huge box of oranges from his backyard trees.
And some students have a lot of loans and stuff that they just can't handle the extra bills of grocery shopping. People have to make decisions, and if food doesn't have to be one of those decisions because it's provided for on campus, that's a good thing.
The cupboard gets its food in a variety of ways. In addition to donations, it buys food and hygiene products from the community food bank for a few cents on the dollar. Any Fresno State student can use the cupboard, but there is a limit on the number of items a student can take. Project coordinator Jessica Medina says so far they've served 700 students in 38 days, and the response has been overwhelming. Medina tells the story of one student who walked in with a big smile on her face.
And she said, you know, my roommates just went to the student cupboard and they showed me all the food that they got, and it's really just a blessing to be able to know that we now have food on our shelves in our refrigerator this week, and one less thing to have to worry about.
And that's what Brenda Hartman is counting on, making sure no student is left behind. Citlali Ocampo, Fresno State Focus.
The governor of California declared a drought state of emergency in January as the state faces one of its driest years in Fresno. Reporter Martin Vargas tells us how the drought has impacted the people of the Central Valley.
Elida Aguirre has been working this orange grove for the past 35 years. She has never seen it this bad.
There's no water, so there's hardly any work. I lasted a lot of time, 7 weeks, working only 1 day a week.
Aguirre is a seasonal worker. She helps harvest different crops for each season. Winter is orange season. Once the season slows down, she'll move on to the stone fruit season, if there's any fruit left. Many farmers have already stopped planting crops due to the lack of water. Instead of making profits, farmers will actually lose more than they will acquire. All across California, streams are drying up, crops are drying off, and local communities are struggling to get enough water. Orange Grove is at risk of running out.
The drought got pretty serious, you know. So, and I know the state was getting involved, where the state was going to start citing people, and you know, I understand, if I stand corrected, I think the citation that the state was going to be issuing was like $500.
The lack of water affects more than just farming. Cities and towns around the Central Valley are running out of water. Orange Grove is trying to get people to conserve. The city is encouraging people to use water nozzles to save water. If a resident is seen wasting water, the city will issue a fine. The city of Porterville has already run out of water, not only for crops, but also for its residents. Tulare County has bought 26 portable showers for the community to shower because nearly 600 residents are out of water.
When the owner told us that he couldn't keep giving us water, I would cry, and I got so depressed and stressed that my husband told me, "Don't worry, God is going to help us."
The water crisis is something Fresno State has focused on for the past 3 years. Hydrology professor Shi Wang says the drought is a relative concept.
If we didn't have so much farmland, water is probably enough. We now have enough farmland. We have now increased the environmental need for fish in the river. Now, of course, we don't have enough water.
Aguirre hopes that God will bring farm workers enough rain to give them more days of work. It is not clear if this year's rainy season is going to help with that drought or if there won't be enough rain to make it better. Martin Vargas, Fresno State Focus.
It's not all doom and gloom for the Central Valley. As you've seen, efforts are being made to break the cycle of poverty, find homes for the unsheltered, and jobs for the unemployed.
Crime numbers are down in most parts of the valley, and the number of homeless has been cut in half. Fresno is no longer number 2 in urban poverty. It has moved down the list to number 7, but there's plenty of work to be done.
From all of us at Fresno State Focus, thank you and good night.